Tim Keefe, who is also a College of DuPage alumnus, met Rowan Miranda during their days as classmates together at the college. They went on to not only build a successful business together, but also to forge a lifelong friendship.
I met Rowan back in 1981, right here at COD. We kept in touch throughout undergrad and then ran a finance and technology advisory business for government. That business that we built together is still running today with more than 700 engagements completed. I remember the first day I met Rowan was when he picked up one of my note cards, and I followed him outside the classroom, and he stated he wanted to study together. My first thought was, what could this 17-year-old teach me about anything? And that Saturday, he invited me to play football, and we did, after studying for 4 hours, and then 4 more hours after the game. You could read Rowan's accomplishments in his bio, his doctorate from the University of Chicago, his teaching positions at Carnegie Mellon and U of C, and the numerous publications he has authored, or his expertise in government strategy as a senior managing partner for Workday. But what you won't read is that he would take double the full-time course load in college. He works hard, but there's always an element of fun. You won't read about his insistence on teamwork and his willingness to share credit with colleagues. And you won't read about his efforts to maintain relationships throughout a lifelong educational and professional career. To me, it's amazing the number of colleagues, former colleagues, students, and people that have worked for Rowan that maintain regular contact and seek his advice. But what I admire most about Rowan is that life throws all of us unforeseen obstacles, yet I have never seen him waste time on the why or on excuses, and you can feel his energy as he rises up to meet those challenges. That's Rowan Miranda, and I'm proud to introduce him as a distinguished alum of College of DuPage.
It's great to be back on campus. This is a very different campus from 40 years ago. I want to thank Walter and President Caputo for their friendship. We just connected a couple of years ago, and it's been fun getting to know them. I also want to thank Tim for that introduction. We have been lifelong friends since we met at College of DuPage. We also fight like cats and dogs from everything about the NFL to politics. And I want to thank everyone attending, especially my family and friends. I'm clearly the most senior alumnus here, looking at my, but as Tim mentioned, I was 17 when I started at the College of DuPage. Now I've got to start with the when I attended College of DuPage. So when I attended, think about it, Ronald Reagan was president, Styx was a popular band, and the Chicago Bears were mediocre, but just a few years from Super Bowl greatness. And that was a long time ago. My family immigrated straight from India to Wheaton 50 plus years ago. I went to elementary school all the way through high school, right here in DuPage County. My high school is now called Mariano's, but back then it was called Wheaton Central. I met my lovely wife, Sally, as an undergrad in UIC in the mid-1980s, and 39 years later, we have 4 kids and 2 grandkids. We live in Orland Park. After some stints living in Pittsburgh and Ann Arbor, and I really want to thank her because wherever my job took me, she came along, so that was great. Career-wise, we all have a different journey. I loved hearing the journey of my fellow distinguished alumni, but nearly all of my area of training has been in accounting and financial management, so it's not as exciting as robotics, for example. I worked throughout my entire time in college. In graduate school, I worked at the city of Chicago for Mayor Harold Washington's office and the American Medical Association, mostly as a data analyst. I finished graduate work and took a position at the University of Pittsburgh, teaching a number of courses, all related to government and finance. But after about 5 years of teaching full-time, the academic life was just too slow for me. I enjoyed teaching and research, but it didn't feel like I was solving any practical problems. But one day I get a call from the University of Pittsburgh Chancellor's office to help an incoming mayor in Pittsburgh. And at the time, Pittsburgh was facing a lot of challenges. The population had gone from 750,000 to about half that. The city was running deficits, major problems, lots of unemployment. But I jumped at the chance. It seemed like a very difficult but interesting opportunity to run the city finances. And after that stint, I basically decided to focus my career on improving government. So although I didn't teach full-time anymore, I still ended up teaching part-time for nearly 25 years. And that's mostly what I'm doing today, which is still working in government and with higher ed institutions using technology to help improve performance and address their operational challenges. Let's talk about the impact of COD on my life. I don't think there's a standard formula to do well in college or plan out a career. As you heard, everybody's journey is different. There are always twists and turns. For me, the absolute wrong move after high school would have been to go to a four-year college. I didn't know what I wanted to study. My parents didn't have the money. I definitely wanted to work part-time, and I just wasn't ready to leave home. At the time, my world travels were largely limited to going to Wrigley Field for a Cubs game. That was a really far trip from Wheaton in those days. Some of the best instructors I had in the 11 years of college, right from undergrad to grad, were at the College of DuPage. I remember telling Walter and President Caputo this when I first met them. The fact that I still remember, and we still remember, the names of some of those instructors makes the point. So my memorable courses were in microeconomics, Western civilization, statistics, logic, and business law. So for example, my econ instructor had an MA from University of Chicago, and more than anything else, I focused on getting into the University of Chicago. I didn't get in right away, like Rob, ambition to get into Duke. Mine was I had to make a stop at the University of Illinois, Chicago to do it. Another memorable course, and this was a fun one, I had an outstanding business law teacher, Dr. Marvin Siegel. And Dr. Siegel was a lawyer, University of California, Berkeley grad, if I remember. He taught here from 1970 to 1995. And he was a lawyer for B-movie companies in Los Angeles. So movies like Frankenstein meets Wolfman, those type of movies. But he was fantastic in the classroom. I remember him, he would ask, in the eyes of common law, who is always right? And that was a question he'd ask. And somebody'd say Plato, somebody'd say Aristotle, somebody'd say Oliver Wendell Holmes. And the correct answer was the average reasonable person, but somebody inevitably would say God. And that's when he'd point to them and say, you must be from Wheaton. But there's a little secret that they don't tell you when you're deciding on a college or university, that the top research institutions, I was at some of them, University of Chicago, University of Michigan, Carnegie Mellon, et cetera, don't necessarily have the best teachers. If you're great at research, that doesn't necessarily mean you are good in the classroom. This institution, College of DuPage, does an excellent job preparing students for advanced study by stimulating their curiosity. It definitely did that for me. I'm hoping in the years to come I can get more involved as an alumnus and support philanthropic efforts here. And I'm proud to accept this award, join this distinguished group, and I'm grateful for the recognition. Thank you.